You are watching the Fayetteville Government Channel. Up next, full coverage of the latest meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board is composed of citizen volunteers and meets on the first Monday of each month. The board advises the City Council and city staff on issues that affect the city's parks and recreational programs. And now, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
This is the meeting of the Fayetteville Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, December 3rd, 2012. First item on our agenda tonight is approval of the November 5th minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look those over and have any comments, additions, or changes to those?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
A motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And secondly, we're going to squeeze in some here late addition to the agenda. Have a presentation from, I believe, members of the Boy Scout troop. What troop is it?
116.
116. So we'll go ahead and put you guys up here at the beginning. If you want.
I know. Just tell me what this is.
Put it here, then.
I'll come up here. Okay, my name is Philip Reed. I'm a Boy Scout for Troop 116. I'm life rank. I'm working on getting my Eagle, and in order to get my Eagle, I need to do a project, and I chose to do a project at Lake Sequoia. Okay, so my plan is there's a kiosk right here, and two trailheads on either side of it. I plan to clear the brush from between those two trails back to the lake, and like from this trail down. And what I plan to do with that is I want to clear out the invasive underbrush and bring out any dead trees. Mike, the dock manager, he said that if there are any stumps that we need to get rid of, he can grind them up if you guys want to get rid of them, and that would get rid of them and we can mulch them up. Here's another picture. You can see there's a lot of undergrowth. People, you can't see the lake. You can't see like anything behind it. And this is from the other trail over. And if we were to clear this out, you'd be able to see the lake better. And we plan next month after that, we will be putting in two 6-foot picnic tables on beds of mulch. But we will make the beds by doing two 10-foot by 10-foot landscaping beds and fill them with mulch using surrounding landscaping timbers and hold them down with bars of rebar. And we will build the picnic benches and set them on the beds. That way we can have a picnic area, because there's currently not a picnic area at Lake Sequoia, and this would be a great place for people to come to have a picnic, for hikers to stop on the trail. It's at the trailhead, so they could stop on the way back or on the way in. This is an overview. The red marks the trails, the existing trails. The orange lines mark the area that will clear the underbrush and any dead trees. And the two black squares are where we plan to put the picnic tables. And this is my supply list. I'll be using 2x4s and 2x6s, outdoor treated wood, 3-inch deck screws, 2.5-inch deck screws, and that's basically what my picnic tables are. Any questions?
Is this, y'all have, does he have your blessing as far as this plan and design and
I
everything?
think Byron had worked with him earlier on this project.
Yeah, Alice and I actually met with him. Mike McBride, the boat dock operator, has cleared some of the area, so you kind of get a feel for what he's talking about. But his project will add to that and provide some tables out there.
The picnic tables are the same style and construction methods that have been used in the past, and they work out well.
I think that's a great place for that, right there.
I have a question. Once you clear it out, will additional maintenance have to take place to keep it clear?
Possibly. I think mostly it should be able to stay back. We'll have the picnic tables in an area where the mulch is so that stuff won't grow up right around the picnic tables, and people will still be able to access them from the trails.
Boy Scouts have done a tremendous job on keeping the trail ways that they do. So I believe that they'll be out there. And when they have their campouts out there too, they usually have a list of projects to do. So this would be a good one to keep on that for.
There seems to be another in a long line of scout projects from which the Fayetteville Parks has benefited. Looks like a great project to me.
Are these some of your fellow?
This is my scoutmaster and one of our assistant scoutmasters, who is also my father.
Oh. Good presentation.
Yeah.
If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to accept design as planned.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Billy, thank you very much.
Back to the second item listed on our agenda now. Botanical Garden report from Philip, who has already said we have no report tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Right. So we'll move along to the third item listed, which is the naming of the Lake Fayetteville Nature Trails. And for those who weren't here last week, I guess, or last meeting, we discussed this, and per city ordinance, we tabled it to allow for public input. And if somebody can refresh our memory about the names that were suggested, I guess.
There were 4 trail names. I don't have a map in here, but they were Lakeside Trail. The one is the furthest south next to the lake. Next one up was called Hilltop Trail. It's sort of up on the ridge. There's one further north that kind of goes back through some old fields that was called Old Field Trail. And then the short section that connects those trails to the paved trail called Wagon Wheel Cutoff.
Did we receive any feedback about this?
Nothing.
And these are the names that the Environmental Study Center suggested or proposed that they've been used. That gives background information. Anybody have any?
I think it's a great idea. It's not only a safety reason for emergency vehicles to be able to get in for the students, but also for the public when they're out there using it. So it's a great project.
We talked at our last meeting about having signs for those trails. Is that still part of the project?
Yeah, we'll work with Environmental Study Center, Byron's, and get some contact with them and stuff. We'll get that done.
I have a general question. Have we ever discussed selling the naming rights of trails?
No.
Is that something that's like a no-go in the city, or?
I don't know. We have a donation policy. But this is selling a naming right, no? But it's something we could look into. It kind of relates to a donation, which facilities, in order to have your name put on a facility, there's a bronze, a gold, a silver, a gold levels that you can get your name on different facilities, just depending on the cost of the facility. But might be something for us to look into. I never really have heard of anybody doing that before, but it might be a great project.
Something to keep in mind as we
Yeah.
go into raising
Yeah.
funds in the future.
That's right.
If there's no further input, I would entertain a motion on this naming proposal. Second motion and a second. All in favor of accepting the naming of the Lake Fayetteville Nature Trails as they were proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion passes.
And this item now will go to city council
For the,
for the December 18th meeting. Because after you all approve it, then they'll look at it for final.
next up on our agenda, we have the first of 2 parkland dedication proposals, it looks like. Nice to see more of those, definitely. First development name is Eco New. And Allison, you the one? Okay, I'll turn it over to Allison, let her tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, as Lily mentioned, this project is called Eco New. The engineer designing it is Jorgensen Associates. It's owned by Specialized Real Estate. We have Seth Mims here with us if you have questions from him about the development. It's on the southwest corner of Duncan and Center Streets, just south of Oak Ridge Trail. It's in the southwest quadrant. And this is the site plan for it. They're proposing 94 multi-family units on about 2.16 acres. Their land dedication would be 1.316 acres, or the money in lieu would be $52,640. And you guys might recall that we recently updated the parkland dedication formula, so those rates are based on updated numbers. So they're a little bit less than what you're used to seeing per unit. The developer is requesting to dedicate money in lieu, and staff is also recommending that we accept money in lieu. There are several parks in the area. We have Wilson Park, Walker Park, Frisco Trail, Oak Ridge Trail, Spring Gardens, and YRCC, all within a mile radius. So there's the aerial. And Seth, do you want to add anything?
I have no presentation, but I'm here for your questions.
This removes some existing houses in a whole small apartment complex above Harmon Field. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
So, okay, just trying
That's
to get.
correct. There are 2 dilapidated apartment buildings
Right.
and 3 houses on the north of those 2 buildings, and 3 dilapidated houses on the south of those 2 apartment buildings that will be included in this 2.16 acres. And again, it's an attempt to create a walkable community where you can walk to work in downtown, to entertainment downtown. If you go to school or work at the U of A, you can walk to either one of those. Kind of more of what we want to see in Fayetteville, I believe.
Looks like a great project. Do we have any questions, comments, discussion?
Especially this is money in lieu, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why it's not a lot down there.
Will the overall feel be a lot like that of the Echo Water Flats?
It will have a layered architecture style like Eco, but it will not be the same materials. We're going to go with something that we believe is even more pleasant from a facade than Eco. You know, we had to work with bones that were there at Eco New, and so we're definitely planning on it having a very urban form, very pedestrian centric. We're going to create some really neat urban moments at the intersections, and I'm sure it's going to be I know it'll be a huge asset to not just the neighborhood, but the whole city. Everybody who has to go through there notices that this is a little congested right now. It could use some reworking. The sidewalks are outdated. They're really not even compliant at all on the south side of Center, and we'll be, of course, fixing all that, burying utilities, 8-foot sidewalks with tree wells. Be first class.
And this goes to council
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night.
Goes to council for a rezone. The rezone allows me to also have commercial uses like a coffee shop, perhaps a deli in our clubhouse. You might have read that the U of A recently stopped selling Coke products, and we believe that there's a huge opportunity right there across the street to sell some Coca-Cola.
If it passes tomorrow, what's your hopeful date for start?
I would hope to start in April or May, break ground.
Be awesome.
Yes, sir. Hopefully we'll have a really mild winter, and that might even speed things up. We'll see.
again, staff's recommendation was money in lieu in the amount of $52,640.
Motion to accept staff recommendations.
Second?
A motion and a second. Do we need to call roll or just do?
Just do it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seth.
Fifth item listed on our agenda is another parkland dedication. This one, development name is Penny Lane, northwest corner of Wynwood Drive and Mission Boulevard, I guess by Fairview Memorial Gardens, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Allison, again, why don't you tell us a little bit about that one?
Okie dokie. This project it's more or less a couple of lot splits. It's just a 5 single-family unit split. There's actually a house already constructed on it. It's on the northwest corner of Wynwood Drive and Mission in the northeast quadrant. Total acreage is 2.35. The land dedication would be just over 1/10 of an acre. Money in lieu is $4,600. We do have Gully Park, Craft Park, Brooks Hummel Nature Preserve, and Ridgeway View Park in the 1 mile service area. This is basically just a plat page, so showing the lot splits. And there's the aerial. So it's right by the cemetery. We're recommending money in lieu. The developer requested to dedicate money in lieu as well.
Does this tie into that when we went and looked at that potential park area or trail area a few months ago? With the ponds?
It's on the other side of,
I think that was out west, wasn't it?
we went to look at one north of Mission, I can't remember the name of the development there.
Oh, by Craft Park.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on the other, it's by Fairview Cemetery. The new one, this one's by Fairview Memorial Gardens,
Yeah.
across from Tim's Pizza East.
Yes, that's a good landmark. Yeah.
I think with the small amount of land that would would be required for dedication there, I think that money in lieu is the appropriate action here.
There are other Penny Lane, that's right by Tim's Pizza, which is on the east side.
Mm-hmm.
There are other Penny Lane properties there already, right?
There's
Yes.
some under construction. I don't know if they're finished yet.
Yeah, that's where this is.
That's not, that's for the stuff already under construction? I'm confused. I thought they had to come here.
They are supposed to, but because this is, what happened is that they went through for a lot split and they found out that their property had been split too many times, so that requires them to come through a plat review process. So that's why I said that this is more or less a lot split. It just, once a parent tract has been split more than, I think it's 3 times, you have to actually replat it. And that kicks you into a new development review. So it can't be processed as a lot split, it has to be processed as a plat. So it's just sort of different review category.
All right. Yeah. Sorry I asked.
Sorry if I confused you.
Any other questions or comments or discussion?
Motion to accept and staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Chairman, I might interrupt you real quickly. We have Boy Scout Pack 46 Den 12 here to visit us tonight. So, and I know these guys are working on seeing a public meeting and looking at getting badges and working up to being an Eagle Scout. We didn't know the Eagle Scouts were going to be here because I would have loved you all to see that presentation. But would you guys mind introducing yourself? Or we can start with the den leaders first, and maybe you can get the boys then to introduce themselves.
Well, I guess, sorry. I guess that would be me. James Morphew. This is actually my first meeting with Den 12. I was in another den, but we had to make some rearrangements. So that was also my first year doing anything with scouting. So I'm still a little lost. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 boys here today from Den 12. Gentlemen, would you mind standing up and introducing yourselves?
I'm William Findley.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Grace Joyce Matthew.
That one's mine, but.
I'm Grace Joyce
Glad to have you all. And you guys stay in and look at these guys. Is that, Billy, you want to stand up and show them your badges that you have? I mean, I'm just going to fill it. Show them the badges that you have earned. Guys, I think that's quite an honor. And he's working on his Eagle Scout project, which is the most high. That's a huge project. And he's doing it in a park for us. So, thank you, Billy.
Thank you guys for being here tonight. We welcome you, and if you have any questions at any time, don't hesitate to ask us. We'd love to tell you anything we can. All right. Sixth item on our agenda this evening is the Northwest Arkansas Disc Golf Association 2012 report and Walker Park course presentation. Ray Moore, President.
Hey, I'm Ray Moore. Got this reel on here. I don't touch the photo on the camera pretty quickly. We're here today to talk about the area around Walker Park and the senior center that's out there. We're interested in putting in an 18-hole disc golf course. The city of Fayetteville has been gracious and let us have Lake Fayetteville for such a long time, but the number of disc golfers in Northwest Arkansas has grown quite a bit. Sometimes the course gets a little over, crowded, and we're looking for another option as far as where we might be able to set up another course. The area you're looking at is a completely wooded area north and south of that senior center. We try to stay away from the walking trail area as much as possible. We're just looking to try to promote the sport of disc golf a little bit more, especially working with the University of Arkansas SEC disc golf team.
My name is Ryan Black. I helped found the University of Arkansas Disc Golf Club back in 2008. It was January. I helped run the club for the past 4 years. I'm getting my master's now, and I'm about to graduate.
I'm Robert Davis. I currently am the president of the Disc Golf Club.
Just to give you like a little bit of background on how we got connected with disc golf and the university and everything. When I first came and I was visiting colleges, I'm originally from St. Louis, and I went and visited a bunch of out-of-state colleges. When I came here to Fayetteville, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to play the Lake Fayetteville course. So my mom dropped me off the course and let me play it, and that was definitely one of the driving factors in moving to Fayetteville, was knowing that there's a disc golf course in the city. So when I started the club back in 2008, there were only about 10 teams across the country. The first national championship was that year, and we were unable to go because we hadn't gotten organized yet. But there was only about 10 teams. Now there's over 100 teams across the nation. I mean, the sport is just growing exponentially, and we're having to travel and qualify to get in tournaments. So with the growing sport of disc golf, it'd be great to see another course in Fayetteville, especially closer to the university. I know a lot of freshmen get to college and they don't have a car to get around in. Putting a course into this park, it would be bikeable for students. And also, I think it would be great because we could put, I know the university could put it in line with the bus transit route, so people could get there without even owning a car. So.
And we are working along with other schools in the EDGE program around Northwest Arkansas. Robert Davis, I'm going to go ahead and tell them about the EDGE if you want.
Well, we just got 2 new courses installed at Holcomb Elementary and Owl Creek. I actually just put baskets in this afternoon at Owl Creek. So the EDGE program helped out a lot with that, and I just kind of designed the course and coordinated all the efforts to get people to get the courses put in, as far as like physical labor goes and everything.
I'm sorry, what's the EDGE program?
It's the Educational Disc Golf Experience. It basically is a program that is put on by the PDGA, the Professional Disc Golf Association. It's kind of like an outlet to that. They go around the country basically, and they set up easy packages for schools to have 9-hole courses. So they have like the baskets, and they'll do stamps on discs that'll have like the school logo on it, and just make it easy for schools to get courses.
And I think one of the great points for making this course that we really struggled with our disc golf club here is when we want to take people out to disc golf for the first time, Lake Fayetteville is the only course in Fayetteville right now. Unfortunately, the first hole there's a lake on it. Second hole there's a lake on it, which is great for experienced players like us. We like the challenge of having a lake there, but it'd be great to have more of a beginner-friendly course where if a kid goes and buys 2 discs, he's not going to lose them the first time. So something that could be more beginner-friendly and expose more people to the sport. Something that whether you're older or younger, you'd still be able to play.
And our future plans, if we did get an additional course in Fayetteville, we could do kind of a collective 5-on-5 40 tournament where we work in hand with the PDGA. The pamphlet I gave y'all is basically from the PDGA website. Gives you a brief overview of what disc golf is if you aren't familiar with it, the potential for the growth, what it does for areas that don't get a lot of traffic, such as Walker Park, but being so close to campus and having students be able to get right there without having to drive 15-20 minutes across town to get to Lake Fayetteville would be a benefit. Most of the work, even at Lake Fayetteville, that's been done has been done with the Fayetteville Chain Gang and Darrell Bailey of the Northwest Arkansas Disc Golf Association. So we try to contribute as much time as we can to help maintain, keep the courses clean so that people can go out there and enjoy.
Another reason, a good reason for us to have this course would be developing our skills. Lake Fayetteville, is the closest course, so a lot of the shots there are very similar. They don't really help us when we're traveling on the road. We're playing against other experienced schools that have disc golf courses all over the place. So we have different shots that we don't know how to do, so it's harder for us to compete. So we just need a little bit more of an edge.
And having another kind of diverse course, this is kind of towards the opposite side of the spectrum from a course like Lake Fayetteville. It also enables, whether it be us in the collegiate disc golf scene or with the Professional Disc Golf Association, to hold bigger tournaments. So having 2 different types of courses, it would be a bigger pull for us to pull in schools from across the region to have a collegiate tournament in Fayetteville, say, where we would actually have 2 courses to support a tournament of that size. And the same goes for disc golf tournaments in the Professional Disc Golf Association.
Afterwards, it's Alma, the small town of Alma, just had a PDGA B tier. People from Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, all over Arkansas. They had over 90 golfers there just to show up and play the event. We anticipate those same type of numbers for all the events that we would have here this year.
So how do you plan to do this? Can you give them an idea of your plans?
Well, we are currently working with U of A. We still have to go talk to their directors to talk about additional funding that the university might be able to help us with. We do have some sponsors for some baskets. They'll be willing to donate the money for the particular baskets. And the booklet also tells y'all about how the PDGA works with colleges as far as meeting them on the number of baskets. So if the U of A was able to buy 3 or 4 baskets, we could potentially get the PDGA to donate those 3 or 4 baskets to kind of make up. I believe Jay said there might be some sort of funding may be available in the future, but I've got other companies like Ella's, Pack Rat, Played Against Sports, Lewis and Clark. I know they're all interested in helping with the project.
Okay, I have several questions.
Go right ahead.
In a row here.
Yeah.
Just one, I'm curious, how much does a basket cost?
Depending on the basket style, there's quite a variety of different baskets. You can get a basket from $300 to $500.
Okay. So and you're going to do this largely with volunteers, it says?
Yes.
And then the funding that you're gonna get from the university, right now that land is not maintained. Byron's not having to work it. And
there's nothing. It's completely overgrown.
It's just overgrown, right? Now, once you put the course out there, how much maintenance is going to be required?
I don't think once you actually get the main fairways cleaned out, the traffic of just having the golfers through there will keep the lines open that we're going to generate there. Any other maintenance that's needed, my club and other clubs around Northwest Arkansas are more than happy to go out there and donate their time to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any liability issues that might exist out there other than the general park stuff?
As far as, just...
Like we're going into a place where there are probably snakes.
Right.
We're taking volunteers into a place where there are probably snakes.
Well, the way we would try to lay out the course is we would have all undergrowth and everything cleaned out. And we think with the amount of traffic, it just naturally would just dissipate, just go away. We don't have to worry about it.
Lake Fayetteville used to have a bad
Tons of
snake
snakes.
problem. Now, I haven't seen a snake forever.
Yeah, it's just the usage.
You don't throw them where I throw them.
It has a little bit of poison ivy, I'm certain.
I think it's a great use of space that's not being used right now.
And we are working with the city of Fayetteville right now. One of my other buddies wasn't able to be here. He's ill today. But he's worked with them in the repairing zones out at Lake Fayetteville There's a lot of honeysuckle issue out there. Honeysuckle is just taking over a lot of stuff. Even from the ice storm, there's still a lot of down trees and debris. Our club is going to work with them, you know, once we can actually get out there and meet with them to even get Lake Fayetteville cleaned up even more, so it'd be more appealing to people.
And currently, like if you've been to the lake, the parking lot next to the disc golf course, Lake Fayetteville, on any sunny day, I mean, it's extremely overcrowded. There's not enough spots there for the amount of people that are active in the sport in the area.
I mean, it's growing exponentially. I mean, when I first started the Fayetteville Chain Gang as our club, we had 20 members. Now we're going to be up to 40, 50. Daryl Bailey stepping down as Northwest Arkansas disc golf director. I've been taking over the responsibility, and we'll take on those other 160 members. So we'll have around 200 members in our club once it's all said and done.
Would this be a course like these young guys?
We hope so. We hope to get them interested in disc golf. The courses that I follow and Holcomb, that's what they're there for, to just give children a chance to experience disc golf. Because I work on appliances for a living, and I talk with people about disc golf all the time, and a lot of people are just like, what's disc golf? And you say, oh, frisbee golf. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's how they make the connection. But we love seeing the kids, women, children. We see more families out of Lake Fayetteville than I ever have. Moms, dad bring their 3 or 4 kids out, and they all play together. So it's definitely gaining in popularity. Fayetteville's kind of falling behind as far as the amount of disc golf, because Springdale's got 2 courses, Rogers has 2 courses, Bella Vista has that massive 18-hole course up there. So we're just trying to kind of catch up a little bit.
Yeah, when I first got to school here, Fayetteville was the only course between here and Joplin. So, I mean, if you look just around the state of Arkansas, I mean, the amount it's grown in the past 4 or 5 years, it's pretty unbelievable.
This has been a very active club. We would, you know, staff would like to work with them. We wanted them to come and make the presentation for a concept plan and to work with Parks and Recreation. Of course, if they're going to be building the course, we'll have certain ways that they can clear the paths and all of that. But we'll work with them on that. But I think staff views this as a great opportunity to utilize this space. And it's right in the center of the city, and I think it would bring in another recreational activity for our citizens to enjoy. Some of these areas, we've kind of had some problems with people living out in the woods. I think it would definitely increase the safety of our parks by having that, because there's no overnight camping allowed in our parks. So, and I think the parking that's available would help, would be able to help. The senior center, I think, would really enjoy this activity going on too. So.
If you notice in the layout, I did try to make sure that none of the lines ever went across the walking paths. So people are out there enjoying a nice afternoon walk, would be at risk of ever getting hit. We don't want another gully park incident. But that was taken into consideration when we came up with this mock layout, to make sure that it was in the woods, and anybody that happened to be out there using the trail wasn't affected by our out there plan at all.
Is this the final layout that staff has approved, or you're still?
We haven't finally walked it, Chase.
Yeah, we're still working on it. So this is kind of a preliminary concept, but
it's overgrown. It's going to take a little bit of time to get actually in there and cut down some of the really thick overgrowth. And this time of year is the best. No ticks, no foliage. We can get out there and actually see what we're working with. We'll make sure whatever indigenous plants are there that they maintain, they'll stay there. Any down trees, stuff like that will be removed just for safety issues. You know, when a dead tree falling on somebody. Happens to Lake Fayetteville, a lot of trees falling down.
I think this is a great idea, great utilization. You know, there's plenty of room out there, and there's all kinds of modification. Of course, there's a little kind of high traffic area that around T-Box 5 and T-Box 14, just because it's so close to the trails. And again, but I can't gauge the exact distance through there, and it always seems like it's closer than it really is. But
that area right there around the trail would you'd probably be 15, 20 feet in. And we plan on leaving all the existing trees, shrubs, everything around that area. So if there was an errant throw that hit a tree or something, it does have some sort of catch right there. It's not just going to be able to fly through and hit somebody if it should get thrown. Sure.
And any course that you develop has to have some tweaking at some point in time too. You develop it and then see if there's ways to improve it or make it a safer course. So
also signage will help a lot.
Signage, and we can put like they're called mandos in disc golf, and they're basically signs just like arrows where you have to go a certain way around a tree. So if you don't want people shooting over a path, you tell them it's out of bounds if you go around this tree, so they go around it and things like that.
Our plan is to make this one of the most technical courses as far as not just being able to go out there and throw as much, and even the young guys coming out, they'd still be able to utilize the lines the same as.
Less based on distance and more on just technical shots and that kind of thing.
So I'm not too familiar with the sport, but I know in traditional golf you have the opportunity to move tees every once in a while to mix things up. You guys have that same opportunity?
We do have the opportunity once we get out there. Lake Fayetteville has, I believe, 6 alternate pin positions, and we go out there every now and then and look and relocate the basket. So it's always challenging. You'll get used to throwing the same shot. We'll move it 60 feet over to the left, so you can't throw a forehand shot. It makes you throw a backhand shot, so it makes it a little bit more tough.
You can have shorter and longer layouts, so if we were doing something with more of a younger crowd with that type of tournament there, you could make the pin placement shorter to accommodate the type of crowd that would be playing on the course.
And most of the holes on the course, sorry, I didn't know how to get the numbers on Google Earth, but most of the holes here are anywhere from 225. The longest, I believe, would be 5. I think that was almost a 400-foot throw. But like I said, they can all be modified to be shorter wherever once we actually get in there and know where we're going to end up getting out of there. Because you can't walk through there really right now.
Not to mention, this could definitely benefit the senior center. They can, they may not be able to throw that much, but they can at least go throw at a basket. Just putt around. It's still fun just to putt.
Hey, before we vote, I'm just curious, how much is this going to cost?
That's all going to come down to our meeting again with the U of A and what the hyper can take care of and help us with. We do have sponsors. I've got at least 5 right now. If we can work with the PDGA match the college team with the same number of baskets, I wouldn't see maybe $5,000 in additional costs. Really low expense, and with the number of people that'll bring in that side of town, and even the tournaments that we'll have here in town, bring people in the hotels, to the restaurants, to everything that Fayetteville has to offer.
Talking about tournaments and stuff, you do know that the baseball league plays from March through June, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've got there's different time frames for tournaments. Like for instance, we got January 13th, I believe, is the Lake Fayetteville Ice Bowl. Then we're hosting the Horseshoe Canyon Ice Bowl. Speaking of Horseshoe Canyon, they have a 18-hole disc golf course out there. It's probably the most beautiful disc golf course in Arkansas. We host that event, and then there's kind of a lull for a season for a while. When the weather starts to get nice again, then we host the Lake Fayetteville Invitation. But we had anywhere we're at, we can always adjust our dates depending on what event y'all may have at the park.
Might be something we'll have to work with parking for them. Maybe for them to park up by Jefferson School. There's quite a bit of parking there to the north of that building.
And I believe at Block Street, I believe right here is a parking area too, if that's still in the future plans for that to be a parking area there on that curve of the road. Right here at the walking trail head, where the walking trail comes in right there. This right here is a parking area. So you would have overflow parking right there, yes ma'am.
So it'd also be really great, specifically for me, the last 2 houses I lived in on Washington Street right there. And I lived further down 6th Street, closer to Crossover, near the cliffs. So the past 2 years, I disc golf almost every day, and I've always had to truck it all the way up to Lake Fayetteville, which isn't that far. But with this being in town and being on the south side, it'd be nice to have a course closer to campus and closer to people in that area.
Where was the parking area you were talking about just a minute ago?
Where the walking trail comes into the west side of the senior center.
Right.
That area of road right there is a parking zone just on the curb. Block Street.
It's kind of the baseball area, so.
I don't think the north parking lot is used very much either.
Yeah, this parking lot is usually available.
And that's the
Not
main
that one,
area.
I'm sorry, the north one up here.
This one up here.
Yeah, and Jefferson School's just up there. I think we can work that out. And in the evenings, the Senior Adult Center closes at 5 p.m. except for some special events. So we'll just have to, it would be a matter of scheduling.
And we'll work with Chase and any event that the city might be hosting at the time to make sure to conflict with anything y'all got out there.
I think it sounds like a great project. There's no question it's needed. I've seen the crowds in Lake Fayetteville draw us.
Yeah, it gets pretty crowded out there.
And provided, there's no issues working with staff to make this happen, I think it sounds great.
So we approve to proceed in the planning process, is that what we're, okay? I make a motion to proceed.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Oh, sorry, Aubrey.
From the public viewpoint, this is one of the most shocking things I've seen in a while. How wide would these tracks be through the woodland?
It's going to be dependent on the landscape and the tree design, but generally most fairways could be 40 to 60 feet wide.
The point with this course, if you go out to Lake Fayetteville, the fairways are really wide, and that's kind of what type of course that it's a kind of a large, like a long open course, like a Scottish links course in golf. This course would be the opposite of that. Rather than having huge lines, we're talking about tight lines. It might be something in the range of between 10 and 30 feet. So we don't intend on lines on this course being the wide open lines that you see out at Lake Fayetteville or up in Springdale or up in Bella Vista.
Yeah. So you'd have to go really straight rather than straying off to the sides.
Mr. Chairman, I would submit that amounts to several acres of wildlife habitat and a lot of trees. So we're taking a big step here. Part of this park that has been protected for decades now. And from the standpoint of bird nesting, deer raising their young in that patch of woods, and there aren't many spaces left in the city. So we're a national wildlife certified habitat city. You go right outside this door, the restroom, you can see the sign for that certification. And this portion of Walker Park is most important from that perspective, except the riparian zone upstream. I hope within a few years that we timber out closer to the trail and protect the riparian zone as it should be. But, and I heard the remark about the homeless people. I understand that offends some people, but if you're homeless, when you tear out the woods and chase people further and further out of the city, and they have to come in further and further to get the few services we have. We don't have real shelters, permanent shelters. On the coldest nights in the winter, there's nowhere to get shelter in this city, except very few spots.
I think my comment about the homeless is it's just the safety on our trails and the fact that we have an ordinance that there is no overnight camping right now in any of our parks except at Lake Sequoia, where we have an area that we allow the Boy Scouts to do so by a permit basis. So I would like to.
I understand. Some people are afraid of homeless people. The other thought here, I mean, the habitat is great. The amount of conversion from excellent timberland, the brush is also known as understory vegetation. And as much honeysuckle as it is, there are lots of baby plants in there. So it's important habitat. Woodland's important habitat for many species of butterflies, not just squirrels and deer and opossums and raccoons. And right this time of year, you can go out there and see all sorts of birds passing through there. And it's not bad to have some woodland edge, but the other point, I guess somebody asked that I didn't hear, and I think the public deserves to hear about before this is actually done. Is there going to be any concrete or this blacktop or gravel or what? How will you mark these paths?
Well, generally each hole will have a concrete tee pad for good footing because we don't want anybody to get out there and catch a foot on a root or something and roll an ankle. So generally most courses have concrete tee pads or large black rubber mats just for a tee off area.
That's about 6 by 6.
Roughly 4 by 6.
And then that's pretty much it in the basket.
You have a question right here.
Well, I agree. It would be going into a lot of habitat, but it would still be lots of fun for many kids.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
I would love to go.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. That's why we do what we do. I mean, we donated our entire Sunday. I was supposed to say Christmas lights, I didn't get that done, but we put in those disc golf courses for the kids. It's nice to give back to a sport that's been so good to all of us. I was actually able to represent Arkansas at the United States Disc Golf Championship this year. I was the only golfer from the entire state that got to go. It was an honor to represent Arkansas with all those other people and from all over the world, from Japan, Finland, all over.
And I just have kind of a question.
Yeah.
Now, basically the type of course that y'all are talking about, like you say, is a very complicated course. And I've seen these trails. I've played the courses that you're talking about where there's not a lot. You really want the majority of the growth to be there because you don't want it to be easy to go through. So what I envision and what I believe y'all are talking about is very tight trails that are kind of walking through these. And when you look at the thickest part of this that you're talking about, maybe 3 or 4 to 5 at the most little short paths that go through there. I just don't see a whole lot of ramification on the wildlife in that area. Some of the hairier spots at Lake Fayetteville where you get in there in the woods, I mean, there's critters all in there, and they don't seem to really bother.
Actually, we've had reports of a bobcat out of Lake Fayetteville too. So.
That's a big part of disc golf too, is enjoying nature. People like to get out. And
Yeah,
so,
the people that play these courses are the type of people that like to walk, hike on trails and that.
A lot of this area that I've walked this whole area before our city took purchasing this piece of property, and a lot of it is just undergrowth. It's undesired area. I mean, there are some wonderful trees in there, but believe me, they'll be protecting those trees.
We don't want any trees to come down. Just the overgrowth.
Connie Albert brings up some good points, and I just want to know for my own sake here, is this parkland
Yes.
that this is? And
Yes.
does the city differentiate between parkland and like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for,
Natural
like
areas.
preservation?
Preservation areas.
Do we designate between the two?
We have conservation areas, and
We have park classification system, yeah. And we do have natural areas versus a community park, a regional park, neighborhood park, if that's what you're talking about. And mostly that relates back to maintenance. And Byron might be able to talk a little bit more about that, but obviously we maintain our neighborhood parks that are very different rank than we would a natural area, say, like Mount Square Woods or Brooks Hummel.
Yeah, what's this classified as?
Well, Walker Park, I think, is classified as a whole.
it's a community park.
We don't currently
For the residents
maintain.
of Fayetteville.
Actually, when we purchased this piece of property, it was actually purchased so that we could grow baseball. And when we got it, we hired some landscape architects that actually did a plan for it, that it involved soccer, baseball, all over this place. That
Actually fought for
it
to
was
develop
purchased
into something.
as for recreational use. But that just never happened, so.
And that type of project would rip out a lot more than a disc golf course.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Well, if the intent was for it to be used instead of before it's used.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, the trails aren't intended to be paved, right?
No,
Okay.
It's all just
I just
natural.
want to make sure everybody
No,
knew that.
Those would hurt our discs. You don't want to hit concrete with this.
The only non-natural stuff is going to be the tee box and the tee.
That's correct.
And that's it.
That's correct.
I think we have another question. Yes, sir.
Well, if there's bobcat, someone could be hurt.
That's a Lake Fayetteville.
So be careful out there.
But they could be hurt if they're.
They could be. I guess we have to be careful and make sure you're with your friends or your dad or whoever you're doing when you're out there walking.
Tell you what, that bobcat is going to be a lot more scared of you than you are of it. Because that's its home, its territory, and it has its feeding grounds out there. That's why it's probably moved to that area.
I'm not even sure if there even is a bobcat. I haven't seen a box.
I haven't seen one either, so I'll be looking out for one.
And we have talked about working with Rob Florida, since all the Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts here. Rob Florida also, I guess, is a team commander or whatever it is. I'm not sure if you gentlemen know Rob Florida. Den leader. We've also considered working with Rob Florida because Rob Florida is a disc golfer himself. When his family got started, he took a break for a few years, but he's back and active and again. I know that he'd be interested in having the Boy Scouts out, Cub Scouts, whoever to, work for badges or whatever they'd like to. We'd be happy to have him out.
Well, that's one of the things, I'm a big fan of disc golf because it has such a low impact on the environment and so many people can enjoy it. And I still maintain my position. I think it's a great use of the space. Do we have any more comments or discussion before we proceed to a vote?
Okay. Make a motion that we proceed with the planning stages.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. I noticed somewhere during that discussion we had some more visitors come in. Great to have you guys here.
Thank you. We're going to depart. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's all Cub Scouts from Wolf Cub Scouts from Pack 46.
Thank you guys for joining us and thank you for speaking up.
We have been out to Lake Fayetteville for 2 years in a row to play disc golf.
Oh, awesome.
As
There
a
you
pack,
go.
so we enjoy it a lot.
Well, please come back.
Sure, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Come back when you get older, too. We'll have a project for you.
Any other business?
I have just a minor business here. Every year we hand out our certificate of award. We like to feed you a little Christmas, our holiday spirits, and give you a backpack that has water bottle and things from parks. Just something, a little token to say thank you for all your hard work. And many of you hopefully will be back and that we'll be working on next year. So, and Billy has turned out, so
You're rid of me.
we're missing it, but you can come back. You can come back.
I would love to. This has been a great board to be on, and it's been a pleasure to work with all of you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, you've been a pleasure. He's second generation being on the Parks Board. His dad helped us in so many ways too, so we appreciate both.
Maybe we can talk him into applying again.
Yeah. I'm just going to give these out real quickly. Philip Watson. And John Hall. Philip is not here. And Angie Sass, our newest member. Thank you. Terry Lawson. Steve Wilder is not present. And Jonathan Leonard. David Prophet. And Billy Wade. Thank you. And there's more to eat.
We do have a couple of upcoming events listed here, actually really one. December 15th, the Community Christmas event at the Yvonne Richardson Community Center, 11 to 1 p.m. And then just a couple of reminders, holiday offices will be, city offices will be closed December 24th and 25th. Lake Fayetteville and Sequoia offices and marinas closed December 24th through January 14th. And New Year's Day, also a holiday, city offices will be closed. That being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
So we are adjourned.